Hi there, my name is Alice, and this video will explain how to find and recognize scholarly secondary sources for your history assignments. Most of your assignments will ask you to call on research you find in secondary sources. In the discipline of history, secondary sources are ones that interpret and analyze primary sources and were written long after the historical events they discuss occurred. Secondary sources can be academic and non-academic. Non-academic secondary sources include magazine articles and websites, for example, this website for the magazine History Today, or popular history books that you might find at Chapters. These types of sources are written for a casual audience, often by journalists or non-academic authors for entertainment purposes. They are aimed at folks with a general rather than scholarly interest and background in history. At universities, we often refer to these types of sources as popular secondary sources. In a university setting, when a professor refers to secondary sources, they usually mean scholarly books and journal articles that have been peer-reviewed by other scholars in the same field. In history, these scholarly sources present the author's original research and analyze and interpret primary sources. They are always removed in time from the primary sources and historical events they discuss. Scholarly secondary sources will always build on existing research in the field. You can tell this by the fact they will always cite books and articles written by other historians in their footnotes and bibliographies. They are written by academics. In the field of history, this will be someone with a PhD or possibly a master's degree in history or a closely related field who is associated with a college or university. Unlike non-academic sources, scholarly sources are aimed at other researchers, which means they use specialized and sophisticated academic language and can be challenging to read. If this is your first time doing research for a history paper, you may wonder if you need to bother with books and can just use journal articles instead, since they are so much shorter and because you may be more familiar with using articles. The short answer is you should use books. Although journal articles may at first seem easier, books provide important historical context on larger subjects and will discuss various aspects of the topic rather than focusing on a very narrow part of it the way that journal articles do. To illustrate this, we can compare these two scholarly sources on medieval women, a book versus a journal article. We can tell from the title that the journal article on the right is very narrowly focused on one aspect of women in this time period, laws relating to pregnancy, while the table of contents for the book on the left shows that it offers a much broader scope on the topic of medieval women, including a chapter on laws, but also chapters on other topics that may provide helpful context for our understanding of medieval women. Books are particularly helpful when you're trying to identify or narrow a research topic because of the fact they tend to identify those subtopics of the larger historical event at hand, while the narrow focus of journal articles often requires some existing knowledge in order to be helpful. Keep in mind, though, that your professor rarely expects you to read the entire book. Generally, you are focusing only on a few key chapters. Finally, books are an important form of scholarly dissemination in the field of history. While some academic disciplines rarely publish in the form of books, in history it's an important part of the scholarly landscape that should not be overlooked. In terms of how to find scholarly secondary sources, using Mount Royal's LibrarySearch tool is generally the best and most efficient place to start. It is a search tool that includes most things that Mount Royal owns or subscribes to, so it's sort of a one-stop shop for finding information at Mount Royal. You will find it on the Mount Royal Library homepage. From the library search box on the Mount Royal Library homepage, I'll do a quick sample search for World War Canada. Notice that I've put World War inside quotation marks so that it is searched as a phrase with the two words kept together. Notice that I get all sorts of different results. I get a few videos at the top, some books, and if I scroll down, I would find that there are some journal articles in the list as well. LibrarySearch, like many academic search tools, includes features to improve search results. So for example, if I'm just getting started on my topic, I might want to limit to books just to see what's out there and get ideas for narrowing my topic. To do that, I would go to the resource type filter and I could choose to limit only to books. Now, we can scroll down and look through a few of the results. I think the one that I'll look at is item number 4, Canada and the First World War. We can see that we have two versions of this book. One is an ebook. I know that because it says available online. The other one is a physical book, and I know that because it tells me that it's in the main collection and provides a library call number for where I could find the book on the shelf. I'm going to go in and look at that book and just highlight a few features of this book. A few things that you'll want to pay attention to when you're looking at the detailed information for the items in LibrarySearch are the table of contents. This is the table of contents. It tells me the chapter headings for each chapter in the book and that can help me decide whether or not the book is relevant to my topic. It also tells me some information about the publisher of the book. I learned that this is published by the University of Toronto Press. I can also see that it includes a bibliographical references and an index. I point that out because those two things, the University Press and the bibliographical references, are both indicators of this being a scholarly source. Final thing that we can look for in here are the subject headings. In this case, we see one subject heading, World War 1914 to 1918. This subject heading is a tag used by libraries to describe what a book or article is about and to group it together with other items on the same topic. Subject headings use a controlled vocabulary shared by other libraries to maintain consistency and make items easier to find. They can help you to improve your search vocabulary, and clicking them will also lead to a list of related titles, so you'll always want to look at them carefully. Keep in mind, though, that not all library items have subject headings. Finally, we see at the top the call number for the book. I mentioned the call number earlier. Here we can see the call number is D547C2 and so on. Call numbers are the addresses that describe where physical books sit on the library shelves. You note that books are shelved by topic, so finding a call number that's relevant to your topic can usually assist you with finding other helpful books on the same subject. Right now, if you're interested in borrowing a physical book from the library, you can do that via Mount Royal's contactless pickup service. To make my search a bit more specific, I can go back to the original search screen and add an additional keyword. In this case, I've added the term women to my search. Adding another term will always give you fewer but more relevant results. If I want to search specifically for peer-reviewed journal articles, I can use a filter on the right-hand side. I could choose the peer-reviewed filter, apply that filter, and that would bring back only journal articles from peer-reviewed journals. Another really useful filter that I can use is the subject filter. The subject filter gives me a list of the tags that have been applied, or the subject headings that I mentioned before, that have been applied to the items in my search results. So in this case, I might be specifically interested in the tag of history and the tag of Canada to make sure that I'm keeping these in the context of my research topic. And in this case, I can see that these are, in fact, largely about Canada. Let's see. Whoops. I'll take a look at article number 9, expanding the narrative. I can tell that this is a journal article because the peer-reviewed icon is displayed. I see some subject headings again that might help me improve my vocabulary. Women, Canada, World War. We get a more specific subject heading for World War 1914, 1918. And then at the bottom, I get links to the various places where I would be able to find the full text of this article. Finally, a really useful feature of LibrarySearch is the Cite It feature. And Cite It allows you to choose a citation style and then generate a citation for the item in that citation style. In history, of course, you would always want to be looking for Chicago. Currently, Chicago is in the 17th edition, so make sure that if you're using an automatic citation generator, you are choosing the 17th edition of Chicago style. And also keep in mind that although the free citations are often very helpful, they do sometimes have mistakes, so you'll want to be proofreading this against the Chicago Style Citation Guide for History here at Mount Royal. Finally, LibrarySearch offers some useful features on the advanced search screen, where you can search for words that appear in specific places in the books and articles. For example, you could search only for results where your search terms appear in the subject heading of the book. As I have done, I've looked for the phrase World War only in the subject headings, the word Canada only where it will appear in the title of the items, and again the word women in the subject headings. This can help improve the relevance of your results if it is done thoughtfully. I hope this advice has been useful. Here's how you can find me if you need more assistance.